Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's Tech Tuesday. My name is Vanessa, and today we have Christopher Panlasigui with Research Informatics here to talk about REDCap. We also have a couple of other people from the Research Informatics team with us today. We have Julie Ottinger and also Cindy Chen. You may see their names in the chat as you guys have your questions. They'll be there to answer them. Before we get started, I just wanted to let everyone know we are recording today's session. So if you want to go back and review anything or even share this with some of your colleagues who may have been unable to attend, you'll receive a follow-up email from me later today with a link to the recording as well as any other important links we may talk about today. We also are expecting quite a few people to sign into today's session. So I do have everyone on mute just to prevent some background noise. But if you have a question at any time during the session, please feel free to post it in the chat or raise your hand if you'd like to come off mic, and we can do that whenever it's appropriate. So without further ado, I am going to hand it off to Christopher. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you, Vanessa. Hello, everyone. My name is Christopher Panlasigui, and I'm a Research Informatics Business Analyst and one of the REDCap administrators here at Weill Cornell. And thank you so much for joining today's Tech Tuesday. And I want to start off with a question. Have you ever felt like managing research data is just way too complicated? I know I have. Well, that's why today I'm here, and I'm excited to show you how REDCap can simplify that for you. Whether you're working on a big study or something smaller, REDCap got something for you. Before we dive in, let me quickly walk you through what we'll cover. First, I'm going to show you one of the common headaches we all face when handling data and how REDCap tackles those for us. Then we'll jump into a demo. I'll walk you through logging in, creating projects, and building a form. By the end, you'll just see how intuitive REDCap really is. And finally, I'll point you to some great resources you can dig deeper into REDCap at your own time. So, what exactly is REDCap? It stands for Research Electronic Data Capture. In simple terms, it is a secure platform designed for researchers like you and me. It allows to collect and manage data without needing to know how to code. It started off at Vanderbilt University for biomedical research, but now over 5,000 institutions across 145 countries use it. That's pretty impressive, right? What I've done here is I have a link on how to access the REDCap here at Weill Cornell. It's redcap.ctsc.weill.cornell.edu. But we'll send you that over in the chat later so you can access it in the future. So what can REDCap do for you? REDCap streamlines your research data collection by centralizing surveys and data entry into one secure platform. You can customize forms exactly how you need them, whether that's with simple text fields and notes, multiple choices options like drop-downs, checkboxes, or rating buttons. For more advanced needs, REDCap supports special fields like calculated fields for automatic computations and file uploads for document or images. Plus, you can use branching logic to make your forms smart, making questions based on what participants answer. The data validation rules work in real time to ensure the accuracy of entries, whether you're capturing dates, numbers, or email addresses, reducing the needs for manual data cleaning. REDCap also simplifies survey distribution by offering multiple channels, allowing you to send surveys via email, public links, or QR codes to engage participants effortlessly. Additionally, you can automate repetitive tasks like sending invitations, reminders, and real-time alerts, minimizing the need for manual follow-up. If you've ever worked on a study that runs over several months or years, you know how tricky it can be to keep track of everything. REDCap makes it so much easier. You can set up forms that automatically adjust based on what stage of the study you're in. This way, you're collecting the right data at the same time without duplicating efforts. With specific forms, you can tailor each phase of the study, such as baseline, follow-ups, and other key milestones to ensure that correct data is captured at each stage. I have a screenshot here of how to define the forms, meaning when to activate them at specific events that you've defined in your projects. But also, the platform supports repeated measures. It allows you to easily collect data from the same participants at various intervals without creating separate forms, meaning you can use one form and then you can allow participants to enter multiple data at either at different time points or at different interval, even ad hoc. It has that capability. This simplifies the process and ensures consistency across all phases of your study, meaning you don't have to manage multiple forms, different versions of the same forms, and everything is consistent, not just for you and also for your participants. The event grid, what you're seeing right now, provide a visual overview of data collection schedule, helping you track progress and stay organized. It shows you what data needs to be collected at each interval and lets you monitor your site timeline efficiently. Additionally, a real-time data access through record status dashboard enables you to track data entries, quickly identifying incomplete or missing information and address any issues promptly. So this is one of the key features and most powerful features of REDCap, to be able to handle longitudinal studies or even multiple forms for ad hoc collections, so you don't have to keep designing or creating another project for different timeline. And another cool feature is multi-language support. If you're running a study in different languages, this is a game changer. The language management tools, the translation makes it efficient for you to handle, right? It allows you to define multiple languages for your project and input certified translation directly into the system. Just remember that using Google Translate may not pass the IRB approval. So, and also we don't recommend using Google Translation when you're adding the translation version. But the system has everything in place for you. It allows you to choose what fields needs to be translated. And also you can just copy and paste your certified translation into that field. And then you do the same for other fields. And then you just activate it. This type of system streamlines survey delivery as participants can select their preferred language. REDCap automatically displays the correct content. It also covers survey elements, other survey elements like buttons, text, instructions to provide more consistent user experience. And there's an additional custom branding. You can add logos, modify your header text, make some basic color adjustments to reflect your project's identity. While branding options may be somewhat limited, because you can't really do a lot with it, they can help create a more polished and professional look. And REDCap has this feature responsive design feature that ensures it adapts to any device, whether it's a desktop, tablet, or smartphone. It will try to adjust with the resolution of the screen. One of REDCap's most powerful capabilities, another one, is the ability to automate key tasks. It allows you to reduce need for manual work. For example, you can automate survey invitations, I've mentioned this earlier, and reminders based on what your participants are doing, which means it's less time for you to do follow-ups. There's an alert and notification feature that's super customizable that you can use to notify you or your team whenever you've got a specific responses or need to take action, making sure you stay on top of everything. The flexibility ensures you receive the right information promptly, and also it reduces the need for continuous data monitoring. So you're not wondering if someone or one of your participants have filled out a form and stuff like that. So you can create all those alerts and notification. You can create sort of reminders for your participants if they haven't responded to one or more surveys that you've sent them. Instead of you resending the information, you can set up where the system would send reminders at a certain intervals too. You can control how often and to a certain point. Doesn't allow you to at least one of the features, the automated invitation, doesn't allow you to send reminders more than 5 times. But if you need to do that, if you need more than 5 times, you can use the automated, the alerts and notification feature, which allows you to do just that. And also there's a data quality resolution. The module allows and maintains automated data quality checks, where you can define rules to automatically scan for issues such as missing data or whether it's out of range and some inconsistencies. It checks in real time and flag issues for immediate review, helping maintain a high integrity without needing for extensive manual data cleaning. So you can define specific fields, such as the date, so that all of your data entry is consistent. It allows certain formatting for the date. If you want a month, day, year format, you can use just that. If you want to capture a little bit more detail, such as include the hour and minute, you can also do that. But the neat feature of trying to adjust with each field is that you can control whether you want that to be an email address, or you want that to be a specific value of a text. If you're asking for a number, you can define the minimum and maximum for those fields as well. And here's why REDCap really shines when it comes to working with other tools. You can easily import and export data between platforms like Excel, SPSS, SAS, or R. REDCap enables you to transfer data seamlessly across platforms. This is huge when you're collaborating or running advanced analysis. Plus, it has this really neat feature where you can de-identify data when exporting to protect privacy, which helps with the HIPAA and other regulatory compliance. And you can also import data from external sources. So if you already have collected data and you have them sitting on an Excel file or CSV, there's a way for you to import those as well into REDCap. You may need a little bit of formatting so it matches your project, but all these features and capabilities are available for you. Take advantage. And let's just talk about how and why REDCap is such a great tool for research. For starters, it's user-friendly. You don't need to be a coder to be able to create or manage forms. It's built for people like us. Oops, sorry. You can easily create forms, manage data, you can generate reports, making it accessible for researchers at all levels, right? So if you know how to program, you can definitely take advantage of that. The syntax is a little bit different, but REDCap has a way you can use REDCap and use those complex logics that you know of, and apply those in terms of branching logic. Yeah, you can apply those for calculated fields, so you don't have to manually enter the value for certain fields. You can definitely use them. And it's efficient, because you can automate a lot of the tasks, right? Like sending invitations, running real-time data quality checks. You just set it up and then REDCap does it all for you. Yeah. And when you're working with a team, REDCap keeps everyone at the same page with features like audit trails, file repository. And for multi-site collaboration, REDCap has this feature called data access groups, where you can, the system itself will segregate data by site, meaning one person that's involved from one site collaborating with, let's say, Cornell and HSS, all data for other institution, that's the only data they can see. They can see other data. So that's really great if you are collaborating or working with other institutions. So all in all, the platform makes it easy to be used for research, more faster for you to set up, and your data is going to be more accurate. Before I compare REDCap with other platforms like Qualtrics, let me just briefly describe what Qualtrics is. Well, Qualtrics is a versatile, user-friendly survey tool, great for feedback, market research, and also academic surveys. Now, while both REDCap and Qualtrics are available here at Weill Cornell, they kind of serve different purposes. For primary use, REDCap is more tailored for research projects and complex data tracking, making it optimal for longitudinal studies and data entry focused projects. It's free for investigator-initiated studies, but does incur some charge for other types of projects or databases. Qualtrics, on the other hand, is designed for a broader range of business use cases, including satisfaction surveys, quizzes. It has this more modern, intuitive interface and with no associated fees here at Weill Cornell. When it comes to flexibility and learning, REDCap offers a very powerful customization, with the branching logic and longitudinal data tracking. But those impose a little bit of learning curve. So you would need some trainings or help to be able to take advantage of those features. Qualtrics is much more user-friendly, designed for quick survey creation, and so those looking for more straightforward experience. And when it comes to data management, both are compliant with privacy and security regulations here at Weill Cornell. Well, REDCap provides secure data storage, audit trails, and easy data export, making it ideal for managing research. Qualtrics focuses more on data collection and analysis, and it offers flexible distribution options with no storage fees. Again, no fee to store data here at Weill Cornell. And if you want to learn more about using Qualtrics effectively, there's a recording from past Tech Tuesday session. And I've added a link here in the slide. When we send it to you, you can just access that. So it's a great Tech Tuesday presentation for Qualtrics. And now we're at a point where I just want to show you what REDCap can do. So I'll just do a quick demo. I'm going to unshare and reshare my screen. And before I do that, do we actually have questions? All right. I think most of them are answered. Good. So let me just open up REDCap real quick and then reshare my screen. You see my REDCap screen, right? I just want to confirm that.
Yes.
Good. All right. So with a lag out, and because I want to show you how to quickly log into REDCap. All you have to do really is log in with your Seaweed credentials. So that would be your Seaweed, not your email address, and the associated password for it. So my Seaweed is CHP4001, and whatever password I have associated with it, just log in. Boom, it logs you into REDCap. For those that are going to be using REDCap for the first time, the system will try to verify your email address. So you just need to provide that information so it can send you instructions on how to set up two-factor authentication. But if you're using our Weill Cornell VPN, or you are in a building, in one of the Weill Cornell buildings, you can actually access REDCap without the two-factor authentication. It just allows you to land on the main page. And what we see here in the main page are on top are the main menu. Right now, I'm in my project status dashboard. Essentially, I can see all the projects that have been added to or projects that I've created. So it's all lists that I have. And on the top menu, there's a link to create a new project. And for those that just want to get started, want to know more about REDCap, there are some short videos essentially telling you other capabilities that I didn't cover in today's talk. And you can also request project access, for example, if you want to access a project that you've been asked to work. And also you could register for training session. Essentially. I'll talk more about that after the demo. So what I'm going to show you now is how to create a new project. So all you have to do really is you have to click on New Project, and it asks you to fill out a form. So it starts with the project title. For today, I'm just going to do REDCap demo for Tech Tuesday. And I did mention this earlier a little bit, that using REDCap is free for investigator-initiated studies. So for the most part, what you need to do, or what you need to choose in a project's purpose, is research. But for the purpose of our demonstration today, I'm just going to use other, but if I did this, then I would have to provide the PI's name. For example, I'm the PI. And then email address. And then if there's an IRB, whether that's pending, you can add the information in here, and then just specify what type of research. For the most part, you can do clinical study or trial. And if there's other purpose or reason, you can just add other, and then you can put in a note. If you already have multiple projects, you can actually make all your project more organized by assigning them to existing folders. You can create new folders. For me, I'm just going to put in a demo. And then here in the notes, this is a Tech Tuesday REDCap. Yep. All right. And then you will see this question about project creation option. Whether you could start with an empty blank project. If you have other projects from other institutions or from other study team, and you want to be able to utilize that, that also allows you to upload a copy of the XML. Or you can use some of the templates that we already have here. We have template for basic demographics, for longitudinal with one arm. So if you just want to be able to explore those when you're playing around, just trying to learn REDCap, that's something you could do. But what I'm going to do is I want to start from a very empty project. That's it. When you create a new project, you will receive an email the following day. Essentially, I want to ask you more details about the research project. If you did provide the IRB information, it's going to ask you that. And you have about 4 to 6 weeks to use REDCap to play around, essentially, to see if it's the right tool, if it's the right platform for you and for your research. And then if you don't respond with that, the system will automatically archive your project. But 6 weeks, I think, is good enough to know whether REDCap is really the right tool for you. And after creating the project, the landing page that you'll see is the project setup. You always land here whenever you access your project. And I just want to talk about all the menus available for you. So on the left-hand side are all the main menus, and they're categorized in different key areas. So when it comes to managing the project itself, designing forms, or turning on and off some of the features, that's under the project home and design, right? Designer is the area where you build your forms. Dictionary is essentially your data dictionary, or all those defined fields and descriptions. And then the code book essentially is just like the data dictionary, but it's an online version of your existing forms, right? So right now I have form 1 by default in there, created by REDCap. And then under that is the data collection tools category, which has the record status dashboard. I did mention about this, where you can track all your participants' status for each of the form that you've created. Some of them may have missing information, or some of them are already complete. So this allows you to keep track of those in a table format. And then if you want to create a record, you just click Add New Record within this record status dashboard, or you can click on the Add Edit Records under Data Collection. In some other aspects too, under the applications, you will see the alerts and notifications, right? I did mention about this whenever you want to set reminders for your team or yourself, or even to participants. You can use the alerts and notification. This is the really powerful, highly customizable alerts and notification. And there's the data exports, reports, and stats if you want to export some of your existing data. And if you already have data you want to add to your REDCap project, there's the REDCap import tool. And then to keep track of all the audit trails, so you have the logging module in there. So it logs all changes that occurred in a data. So if I've changed someone's name, for example, because of a misspelling, it will get logged. So this is good to have in terms of to have a good quality data, right? And then you can also customize the range for when you want to review. Now, if you're wondering why certain things have changed, you can either filter that by who's making the changes or by an actual record. If you're wondering why certain information changed for a particular record, you can keep track of that as well. And then there's a file repository where things get saved when you're exporting data. Actually, the system creates a backup of your data in the file repository, but you have to do that manual click on data export. System will keep a copy for you. And then there's the user rights where you can add, manage, remove other users that you want to be included in the project, where you could provide their CV information here, or you can create certain roles as a template. Essentially, the template is so you don't have to keep clicking some of the features. So if I click here, I can essentially make changes into the basic privileges and also privileges when it comes to viewing and exporting data. So instead of having to click one item at a time, you can create roles and have a predefined role. For example, data entry here, right? And for data entry, they don't really need user rights. All they really need to do is be able to view the forms and maybe not export. For example, I can limit that or just de-identified, right? And then, of course, allow them to be able to create records. So that when I add a person, I don't need to go back and make those changes, all those individual items. All right, so I want to quickly move on now into building the form because that's why we're here. We want to be able to show you how to quickly build forms in REDCap. To do that, you go to the project home and design under designer, or when you are at the project setup page, there's a button in there in the middle of the page called online designer. This is a page where it would allow you to design your data collection instruments. In REDCap terms, the instrument name, maybe what you would call your forms, right? And by default, REDCap has this one form created for you, form one, because it just needs to be able to keep track of each record, unique record. So it has this record ID by default in there. If you want to change that name, you could do so by clicking on action, choose action, and just like change that. And if I want this to be demographics, I can just quickly say that and then click save. And then now we can add fields. To add a field, first we need to know if it's a structured or unstructured. For unstructured, that's typically the text box, note box. Actually, that's it. But here is what we were talking about earlier. When it comes to text box with data validation, for example, I want to collect date and then a variable name. Every field has to have a variable name. Essentially, it's where information gets saved in REDCap, right, for each associated field. And you can validate that based on the information that you want to collect. So if it were a date, you can choose the formatting, right? You can set a minimum or maximum. And then you can make that either required or not, right? And then you can also indicate whether it's an identifier, meaning is it PHI that you're collecting? Some fields will fall into that category, such as first name, last name, date of birth. So if that was the case, you have to just mark it. But if you're just collecting, let's say today's date, that's not a PHI, so that's good. You just save that. And immediately, it adjusts for me to be able to only collect date format, and that would be in a month, day, year. So your participants, or when doing data entry, you can just select the date easily, right? Or you can type it in if you want. I want to add another text field here, but this time I want to add first name. And then for my variable name, I just want to call that first name as well. And then when it comes to variables, some convention, it needs to start all lower cases, and it needs to start with a letter. And then you can have numbers after that. And the only special character you can use is the underscore. Or you can ask REDCap to enable auto naming for you, but I prefer when I have to create variable name. And then for this one, I don't really need a validation for this. I'm just asking for someone's first name. But now I would have to indicate whether that's required. I'm going to put yes. And whether that's an identifier. All right. So following HIPAA rules, yes, that's an identifier. But what if, for example, I want this to be first name and last name instead? I want to collect full name. All right. And instead of first name here, I just put full name. By the way, I'm able to make all these changes very quickly and rapidly because my project is in development. All new projects are in development. It'll be difficult to make some changes, although you will still be allowed to make some changes when your project's already in production. So I have a full name here, and there's certain formattings when we're asking for full name in one text. Some may want to start with a first name, then last name. There's this added feature here, field note, where you can indicate or provide instruction that they can enter last name and then first name, right? Last name, first name. And then whenever someone is doing data entry, they will see that little note that it needs to be last name, first name. If you want to collect first name, last name. Let's collect another one. For example, I want to collect someone's date of birth. So this is another date format, right? Because I want to show you next after collecting date of birth. And let's make sure that that's in a month, day, year. And then let's make that required. And that's identifier, right? So what I want to show you next is to be able to add calculated fields. And you don't have to calculate it manually, but you could just indicate someone's age and let REDCap does the calculation for you, providing that you use the right function. REDCap has this built-in functions, right? So in this case, I want to calculate the difference between two dates. REDCap provides a lot of good examples, and then the correct syntax and formatting in order to do that. So for me, it's going to be date diff, and then there's date 1, date 2. So in my case, this is going to be, let's say, today's date, and this is date of birth. And then I need some sort of unit and sign values. And in reading in options for units, Y to indicate year. So it calculates for you automatically in a year, on a year basis. Or you could do that by months, but usually years. And then you could also add a layer, meaning if you don't want to show 18.5 as someone's age, you can round down or round up or just regular round to essentially limit the number of decimal places. So for now, we're not going to do the round, but what I'll do is I want to use date diff. You can just copy this and then put that in a formula here. But now I need to adjust this one, right? Because this one, I had a date initially, and then I also have a date of birth. So what I'm doing here is I'm piping. It's called piping. REDCap allows you to use existing fields and do something with it, such as calculation. You can also do that for branching logic. And then REDCap will tell you if it's valid. So the way how it checks is that it's make sure that this field date exists and date of birth exists. And also if it's in the correct formatting. Right now we have in day, so we're just going to change that into year. And it's going to tell you if it's valid, but it can't check more complex, because sometimes there are some complex formulas that you might want to use if you're more advanced when it comes to programming, but you don't need to do that. All right. And what happens is that when I'm entering data, as long as I've provided the date and the date of birth, REDCap will automatically calculate that for me. I just want to show you what that looks like by showing a test record here. So I'm just going to put today's date. And if I put date of birth here, just put 2002 and some random date, there you go. REDCap does the calculation for you very easily. So you could do this with a lot of things, right? So if you're collecting different measures and you want to grade depending on what were selected, you could do that. You can use calculated fields. And I did mention about branching logic earlier. So what I want to do is first, let me ask a question or a multiple choice, right? Let's just do an easy multiple choice radio button to ask for someone's sex or gender, all right? I'm just going to put it here, sex as a variable. Is it identifier? Sex, is it identifier, right? Is it required? I'm going to make it required for now. And then the choices that I have here, first, I need to provide the value and then the label. The value for, let's say, female is 1. So when I export the data later on, I'll see 1, 2, 3. But I have an option when I'm exporting where it shows the label instead, female, male. I could do that. And then let me just add another one here, other, right? And the branching logic that I want to do is, for example, if the selection is a female, I want a follow-up question. So that follow-up question by default is hidden, and it only shows up when it meets the criteria that when gender, whatever it is, all right, is met. So here, are you pregnant? Right? So I'm just going to add here pregnant. It could be anything in your case. And let's make this into a simple yes, no, right? By default, REDCap does that for you. If you choose yes, no, it creates a radio button for you with the label yes, no, and then the value behind it, yes, 1, 0, no. And then it's up to you whether you want to make that into a required field or not. But essentially, what happens is that when you're entering records, so what I'm doing here constantly is I'm adding fields and I'm testing it constantly. That's what I'm doing. Because I want to make sure that it behaves according to, so right now there's nothing because we don't have any branching logic, right? But that's what I want to show, right? So in order to do that, the branching logic, we just look at this in the tools that I have here. Pencil is to modify and edit. And then the pencil here is the branching logic. So I want to branch this based on the response on the sex, right? And if you know a little bit of programming, you could pipe the information here, or you could just use the drag and drop, right? So essentially, in the drag and drop, it says show the field only if. So meaning the sex question is only going to be shown if, right? All below are true, meaning it's if you have multiple fields, it's an and statement, and any is an or statement. So in this case, I only have one when the choice female is selected, right? So what will happen here is that this is going to show up when female is selected. Now let's quickly check that. That's true. Female, I don't have the pregnancy, but once I click female, that shows up, right? So you could do this in multiple fields, not just one, right? You could do this across instrument, meaning if you have different forms, you could also branch, you could allow other fields in other forms to also show up or be hidden based on branching logic, right? So, and there's also a way in REDCap, if you have multiple forms, to hide all the forms unless a specific item in another form is selected. And I'm going to show you that in a bit, but that's under form display logic. All right. So what I'm going to do here is I will create a form. I'm just going to call here vitals. All right. And maybe add one or two fields in there. Maybe some sort of text. Okay. And we'll almost finish. So because I just want to be able to show you that and then how to export the data and stuff. And then let's just ask for some systolic, and this has to be some sort of number. So I can ask for an integer with I can set a minimum maximum, but I'm not going to do that now because I just want to show you that it will branch in other areas. And I can do the same thing for diastolic. Right, and then another number could be integer again, and then save. Right, and then that's an entire form, and I want to show that I can actually make vitals, right, to show if a certain condition is met. So maybe it could be a condition where, let's say, do you want to enter vitals, or do you have information about someone's vitals, right, from a demographics, right? And then yes, no, enter vitals. Let's call that vital prompt. Yes. And then now I can control that. Form. All right. And then keep the following forms enabled, right? When the logic below is true. Vitals, right? And then I had a field earlier. If you just open the square bracket, you can select from existing information. Vital prompt, right? We had a yes, no. If put one in there, yes, good, good. And then when you're entering data, by default is disabled. And it will be enabled only when I answer yes here. All right. And then ignore, go to the next form because I've indicated that a lot of fields are required. See, it puts me there, enables it for you. Right. So let me try to save this so I can show you what record status dashboard looks like. The record status dashboard looks like it's going to be this. It's going to be all the list of your participants, all the records. And now if you want to export that, all you have to do really is click on data export. And then you can just try to view the report to be able to see all the forms that you have, or you can customize, right? But if you want to customize, then you can also make custom selections. If I just want, let's say, vitals, right? It'll tell me what a record ID is. If I just want records for vitals, I could select just that. Or I could define it by specifically choosing individual fields. And then just all you do is export data. And then there's that different flavors of statistical software. Or if you just want to do raw data where the values are zeros and ones, or if you want to see like, the labels, males, female, right? Then you choose this. And then if you don't want any of the identification, PHI to show up, you can select that. Remove all identifier fields. And then just export data. And then just that. And then boom, that's it. So if I've entered some validated text, the system will tell me that I cannot enter information. Let's say the validation here. Let's say I cannot enter below 10 or, right? And if I enter below 10, the system, what will do is like, it's just going to alert me, hey, you can't enter below 10, right? And then after that, we'll just wrap up and then I'll provide you with the or there you go. So this is the real-time data check that I was talking about earlier. All right. So that's how easily you can create a REDCap project and also build your forms. So I want you to take next step with REDCap. So all you have to do really is log in with your Cwid credentials. And then you can register for our upcoming training sessions. We have one tomorrow for beginners. And then, but each month we have 3 training sessions, beginner, advanced, and a special training to teach you everything about surveys from the very simplest case of the survey to the more advanced case of survey. If you want to register now, you can just scan the code that I'm showing here. And yep, if you have any questions, just I'd be happy to answer them.
Chris, we're still seeing your REDCap rather than the slides.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you so much, Christopher. Julie and Cindy, I know that you have been answering questions in the chat, and I know that we're at time, but I didn't know if you wanted to take a second to elaborate on anything you might have seen in the questions or just something you wanted to address about REDCap or REDCap training that's coming up.
Well, thank you everyone for attending. As Chris said, feel free to scan the QR code or log in with your WCM Seaweed to the REDCap page. Otherwise, I highly recommend everyone sign up for some training. This is almost like the beginner level, but always good to have a refresher. And then we have advanced and everything that you ever wanted to know about surveys. So definitely sign up for those. And I see also some people asking questions about Qualtrics. If it's for research usage, you can also email the REDCap team because we also support that as well. So fire away with all your questions about research surveys.
And there are a lot of links that have been posted in the chat and then provided in the slides. I'll make sure that I get that to all of you in the follow-up email, so you know where to go to register for further training if you want to learn more. You'll have it all succinctly in one email together for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Again, thank you for attending today. And yeah, we'll look forward to hearing from you and see you during the training sessions.
Thank you, everyone, so much for attending. Keep an eye out for that email. Thank you, Christopher, Julie, and Cindy, so much for joining us today. Everyone, have a great rest of the day. Hope to see you at next week's Tech Tuesday.
Thank you very much.